So I was at Starbucks yesterday and I watched someone order a venti caramel macchiato with extra shots, and then without even thinking about it, they added a breakfast sandwich. Total $17. And look, I'm not here to tell you that you can't buy coffee, but what I realized standing in that line is that this person had absolutely no idea they just made a decision that could cost them over $100,000 in their lifetime. And before you click away thinking this is another one of those stop buying lattes videos, it's not. This is actually way more important than that. My name is Cashford, and I spend way too much time thinking about the invisible money leaks that are draining your wealth without you even noticing. If you're someone who feels like you're making decent money but somehow can't figure out where it all goes at the end of the month, or you're wondering why your bank account looks the same as it did 2 years ago despite getting raises, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's the thing that nobody talks about. It's not actually about the $5. It's never about the $5. According to a 2023 study from the Federal Reserve, the average American makes approximately 70,000 financial decisions per year. That's nearly 200 decisions every single day. And here's what most people don't realize. Every single one of those tiny decisions is either building your wealth or destroying it. There's no neutral. The $5 mistake I'm talking about isn't buying a coffee. It's the mental framework that makes buying that coffee and 1,000 other small purchases feel completely invisible and consequence-free. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say you're 25 years old and you spend an extra $5 per day on convenience purchases. Not big stuff, not a car payment, just little things. An extra coffee here, a snack there, a quick lunch instead of the one you brought, an impulse buy at the checkout counter. $5, that's it. Now, most people think, okay, that's $5 times 365 days, so that's $1,825 a year. That's not great, but it's not destroying my life. And you'd be right, if money didn't have the potential to grow. But here's where it gets really interesting. If instead of spending that $5, you invested it in a simple index fund averaging a 10% annual return, which is, by the way, right around the historical average of the S&P 500, by the time you're 65 years old, that daily $5 decision is worth $986,964. Let me say that again because I know some of you didn't catch it. Nearly $1 million from $5 a day. Look, I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, okay, Cashford, that's a cute theoretical exercise, but nobody actually invests $5 every single day. And you're absolutely right, which is exactly why you're not a millionaire. Here's the thing most financial advice gets wrong. They focus on the math, but completely ignore the psychology. And the psychology is actually the entire game. There's a concept in behavioral economics called mental accounting, first described by economist Richard Thaler, who won a Nobel Prize for this work. Here's how it works. Your brain doesn't treat all money the same way. If I told you that you lost a $100 bill, you'd be upset all day. But if I asked you to track every purchase under $10 for a month, you probably couldn't tell me where 30% of that money went. Your brain literally categorizes small purchases as doesn't count money. This is the $5 mistake, not the purchase itself, the mental framework that makes small purchases invisible and consequence-free. I want you to do something right now. Think about what you spent money on in the last 3 days. Can you remember every purchase under $10? Most people can't recall about 40% of their small transactions, according to research from the Journal of Consumer Research. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Cashford, but life is meant to be enjoyed. I can't just never spend money on anything. And look, I completely agree with you. This isn't about deprivation. This is about awareness. Because here's what I've discovered after analyzing hundreds of people's spending habits. Most people aren't making conscious trade-offs. They're making unconscious leaks. Let me give you a real example. I have a friend, let's call him Marcus, who makes $75,000 a year. Good salary, not amazing, but solid. Marcus was constantly stressed about money, always felt broke, couldn't figure out why he wasn't building wealth. So I asked him to track every single purchase for 30 days. Every single one, no matter how small. Here's what we found. Marcus was spending $23 per day on what he called miscellaneous stuff. Morning coffee and muffin is $8, lunch because he forgot his meal prep is $12, Energy drink in the afternoon is $3. That's already 23, and we haven't even counted the weekend spending, the random Amazon purchases, the I'll just grab this while I'm here at Target. When we added it all up, Marcus was spending $712 per month, $8,540 per year, on purchases he literally couldn't remember making 3 days later. Now, here's where this gets insane. Marcus had been doing this for 7 years since graduating college. If he had invested that money instead, he'd have over $80,000 sitting in an investment account right now. Instead, he had, I don't even know, some dopamine hits that lasted about 15 minutes each, but it's actually worse than that because we haven't talked about the compound effect yet. See, when you spend that $5 instead of investing it, you don't just lose $5. You lose $5 plus all the money that $5 would have made for you forever. It's not just theft from your present self, it's theft from your future self. Let me break this down with real numbers because this is where people's brains usually explode. That $5 invested at 25 years old at a 10% return becomes $50.38 by the time you're 40, becomes $135.77 by the time you're 50, becomes $362 by the time you're 60, and becomes $987.42 by the time you're 65. You didn't just spend $5. You spent nearly $1,000 of your retirement money. And this is why I get genuinely frustrated when I see financial advice that says just skip the latte. It's not about the latte. It's about understanding that every small financial decision is actually a massive financial decision in disguise. So how do you actually fix this? Because awareness without action is just anxiety, and I don't want you stressed out every time you buy a pack of gum. There are 2 fundamental shifts you need to make, and they're both psychological, not mathematical. Start thinking in terms of trade-offs and not affordability. The question is never, can I afford this? The question is always, is this worth more to me than what else I could do with this money? When you see a $5 purchase, you're not choosing between buy it or don't buy it. You're choosing between temporary satisfaction now versus $40 next year versus $367 in retirement. Once you start seeing money this way, your behavior changes automatically. You're not depriving yourself, you're just making informed trades. Automate the alternative. Here's the thing, willpower is a losing strategy. Nobody has enough willpower to resist every $5 temptation for 40 years. That's not how humans work. Instead, you need to make investing the default and spending the exception. Set up automatic transfers. On the day you get paid, before you see that money in your checking account, have money automatically moved to your investment account. Start with whatever you can. Could be $20, could be $50, could be $200. The amount matters less than the automation. According to research from Vanguard, people who automate their retirement contributions save an average of 15% more than people who manually contribute, even when they have the same income level. It's not that they have more money, it's that they removed the decision from their daily life. Alright, here's exactly what I want you to do after watching this video. Track every purchase for 30 days. And I mean every purchase. Use an app, use a spreadsheet, use a notebook, I don't care. But write it down. You cannot fix what you cannot see. At the end of those 30 days, go through your purchases and mark every single one that you honestly can't remember the satisfaction from.
Calculate what that leak is costing your future self. Take that monthly number, multiply by 12 to get your annual leak, then multiply by 100. That's roughly what this behavior is stealing from your retirement. Yeah, I know that math isn't perfectly accurate because it doesn't account for compound growth properly, but it's close enough to shock you into action. Set up automatic investing for half of what your leak was. If you found you're leaking $500 a month, set up a $250 automatic investment. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Create a conscious spending plan for the other half. Maybe you decide that daily coffee genuinely does bring you joy and it's worth it. Fine. That's a conscious choice, not an invisible leak. The goal isn't to never spend money. It's to make sure every dollar is going somewhere you actually chose. Look, here's what I really want you to understand. Wealth isn't built by people who make perfect decisions. It's built by people who make slightly better decisions, consistently, over a really long time. The difference between someone who retires broke and someone who retires a millionaire often isn't their income. According to Thomas Stanley's research in The Millionaire Next Door, most millionaires never earned a six-figure salary. The difference is awareness. It's seeing the invisible decisions. It's understanding that $5 isn't $5. It's a trade-off with your future. And yeah, maybe you're sitting there thinking, but Cashford, I want to enjoy my life now. What if I die before retirement? Fair question. But here's my question back to you. What if you don't? What if you live to 85 and you're healthy but broke? That sounds significantly less enjoyable than occasionally skipping the impulse purchase at Target. The $5 mistake isn't really about money at all. It's about awareness. It's about living intentionally instead of letting your life happen to you $5 at a time. So, the next time you're about to make a small purchase, I want you to pause for literally 3 seconds and ask yourself, is this a choice I'm making, or is this just happening to me? Because over the course of your lifetime, those 3-second pauses are worth about $1 million. If this video changed how you think about money, hit that subscribe button because I make videos like this every single week, breaking down the psychology and math behind building real wealth. Drop a comment and let me know what your biggest invisible money leak is. I read every single one. Now go automate some investments and take back control of your money.